nature is the key to everything. And so biohacking can get really complicated because there's all these different therapies and devices.
Yeah.
But if you really take a, let's like a zoom out and take a big picture of like, well, what are these devices doing? All they are doing is mimicking nature in some way, shape, or form. Red light is mimicking the sun. PEMF mats are mimicking grounding. Cold water therapy is mimicking a cold stream. Hot tubs are essentially mimicking like thermal bath or something like that that you would find in a hot spring in nature. Yeah. So that's just been something that humans have been doing for as long as we've been around. And now you're seeing these technologies that are essentially just mimicking these old practices.
We got Michael on the show.
What's up, Norman?
Dude, welcome back, man.
Thanks for having me back.
Of course. So y'all, if you don't already know, Michael was on our other podcast sponsored by Liftoff Agent called the Real Estate vs. Technology podcast. And so, man, we've had the Certified Health Nut. He's huge about your Optimyze community and what you're doing. You got to check out Certified Health Nut's podcast. It was awesome. He was talking about how he was getting, what was he doing? I think he was getting a NAD drip. And he was next to one of your facilities and he was watching everyone coming in and just their posture and then just the way that everyone was interacting with everyone. And he's just like, he's like, the Optimyze community is just like on another level.
Yeah, we've attracted a lot of really cool, interesting people over the years. It's been one of my favorite parts of being in this business is about all the relationships.
Yeah.
And all of the interesting people that we've met.
Yeah.
We have a guy that comes to our North Phoenix location. His wife literally studied under Jacques Cousteau, which was like a famous explorer.
Wow.
And so him and his wife travel all over the world. They swim with killer whales, with
oh my God,
all kinds of different whales. They take footage, like they're like explorers.
Wow.
And they're into biohacking. So they're coming first, and they're like in their late 50s, early 60s. Actually, they're in their 60s.
Wow.
And they're still traveling, living life, obviously creating documentaries, all kinds of cool stuff. So,
dude, that is so cool. Congratulations to them, especially if they're checking out the show and to Optimize the community. And it's so true. It's interesting that I was talking to someone because I sent you a text message. And so for you out there that know of some of these different gyms, I'm not going to name any of them, they're starting to try to get into this whole kind of like cold plunge or the infrared or whatnot. And I was talking to a few individuals at the location, and the first thing that came to my mind, and I always bring up you. I always say like, oh, I got a buddy of mine, him and his partner own Optimyze. And then I tell them that the one thing that they can't repeat from these gyms is your community.
Yes, these therapies are getting really popular, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
They are popular already in Europe. And, think about it. Sauna houses have been a big part of like European culture for a long time.
Okay.
The people of Finland, they were called the Finns, like kind of the native people of Finland.
Yeah.
They've been using like traditional sauna houses for a really long time, using heat therapy for not only like, body healing, mental healing, but also for spiritual.
Wow.
Yep. So if you go to Germany, or last year I was in the Czech Republic in Prague, when we were walking around town and you just pull up Google, you could find at least 10 different bathhouses. And in each bathhouses, they had cold water therapy, hydrotherapy, warm water, hot tubs, big saunas, saunas set at different temperatures, like really hot ones and not so hot ones. And they have like massage rooms. So it's like part of the culture. And I would see everyone was so healthy in Prague. Every time we would go out and walk around, I couldn't find any overweight people. There was no overweight people in Prague.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, what are they doing? They're drinking beer, which Prague has like the best beer.
Really?
Best beer I've ever drank in my life.
Okay.
Prague. They have beer everywhere. They have sugar. They have pastry shops and all the things.
Yeah.
It's not like they're eating like carnivore or perfect diet, right?
Mm-hmm.
They walk a lot.
Ah.
They walk everywhere. They walk to breakfast. They walk to work.
Mm-hmm.
They walk home. Like everything is revolved around walking, which is amazing because they get a lot of
Wow.
steps in on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's traditional for them to come home from work and go straight to these bathhouses, and they'll literally
Wow.
unwind for a couple of hours, doing sauna, steam, cold plunge,
Mm.
and then obviously go home and do their thing. So really, really interesting stuff, and it's growing. And many cultures around the world have been doing it. The Koreans are really into these type of spas. You can find Korean spas
Okay.
even in the United States, in Turkey.
Mm.
The Romans were doing it. They had bathhouses in Rome and using cold water and
Mm.
also hot water. So it's just a movement that's happening, and we were lucky enough to get ahead of it
Yeah.
and get in there early. And a lot of people are learning that these therapies are very beneficial.
Yeah.
So it's been a really nice journey.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. And dude, that's congratulations, international. I mean, it's amazing how America is like so behind the times. We're finally just starting to catch up to and see the benefits of these bathhouses, cold water, hot water, compression, red light, biocharger, just a few of the things that Michael has at his facilities. And I remember I first met you when I first moved out here about 5 years ago, and you had your first facility of Optimyze. Now you have three,
Right.
and it has exploded, and I've adapted to it, and then now every day I do the cold and the hot and the infrared out of just convenience because it's at the gym for me.
Right.
But it's amazing. The winding down makes such a difference.
Yeah. Recovery is really important. Most people always looked at recovery as like, I'm an athlete, so I need to recover so I can, get after it the next day. And
Yeah.
there's definitely an element of that. And we do have athletes, but for everyday people, I mean, what are your stress outlets? A lot of people are
Mm,
disassociating right now
yeah.
with television and internet. So we have a lot of disassociation in our society and our
Yeah.
culture, and we're not moving enough, and we're really stressed. I mean, there's a lot of stress. We're not being hunted by tigers and stuff like that anymore.
No.
But ultimately, we have work related stress, financial stress, all of the things, and we're not getting sleep, and we're not getting the movement that traditionally the body's designed to get.
Yeah.
And recovery is important for everyone, even if you're not an athlete.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And having more energy is the currency that everybody's searching for.
Mm,
I mean, if you look at all the supplements, I mean, look at the big supplements, look at the Red Bulls and all of these companies that have made millions and millions of dollars. What are they selling? They're selling energy.
yeah.
They're trying to give you energy in a bottle, energy in a can.
Mm,
And, if you really look into a lot of the ingredients, it's not very good for you.
no.
So people have these like highs and lows. They have the energy, and then they get that dump, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
they're like highs and lows. Coffee, big industry in the United
Yeah.
States. I mean, before Starbucks, growing up in New York City, you would go to diners to get coffee,
Mm-hmm.
or you'd go to a deli to get coffee. There
Mm.
was really no coffee shops,
I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
Interesting.
coffee shops really weren't a thing. I mean, Starbucks kind of made it a thing
Yeah.
up in Washington, and now you have so many different variations of
Mm-hmm.
coffee shops. But at the end of the day, what's everybody searching for? Energy.
Yeah.
That's why the business is so big. That's why people are, starting off their day. The first thing they do, routinely, they
Mm.
wake up, they go to the kitchen, they make coffee.
Mm.
So everybody's searching for energy. But the reality is that, the mitochondria produce energy.
Yeah.
Our mitochondria, our cells produce
Mm-hmm.
energy.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to have like sustained energy, good energy, you have to take care of your mitochondria. And that's through
Interesting.
a lot of these recovery services, which is cold, cold water, good for mitochondria. Infrared saunas, very good for mitochondria. Red
Mm.
light therapy, very good for mitochondria. Now you're seeing this explosion of NAD.
Oh my God. Yeah.
NAD, right? It started off with Hollywood. They were doing it for longevity to look young.
Yeah.
They were getting the expensive IV drips.
Yeah.
Then they moved to, injections, right?
Yeah.
Intermuscular injections. Now you're seeing it in supplement form. They're trying to really perfect it to make sure that it actually has good
Mm.
efficacy and it works. So everybody is searching for energy.
Yeah.
And that's like the key ingredient because we are feeling really fatigued
Yeah.
because of our lifestyle and habits.
Yeah, most definitely. And if you're out there viewing and watching, definitely, we hope that you take something from today's episode that can help you get away from some of the energy drinks, some of the coffees, because I stopped altogether. I drink the energy drinks, and sometimes I feel, either like my esophagus, it doesn't feel right. And then you get the crash. I hate it. I don't drink anything anymore outside of my wife's just matcha or just tea.
Right.
Like I don't even, and a big thing for me is black tea and Shilajit first thing in the morning. And I've actually felt like a huge increase of energy from that on a daily basis, which has been just been a game changer.
Yeah, and Shilajit is a really interesting supplement, and it's been around for thousands of years.
Yeah, I learned it because of you.
Yeah, it was basically harvested from the cracks in the mountains up in the Himalayas. It also grows in other areas like Russia and stuff like that too.
Interesting.
But the indigenous people of those areas, and like what you would say, present day Tibet,
Yeah.
they have been using Shilajit as a kind of a fertility supplement.
Really?
Yeah, it's a fertility supplement because, I mean, think about it. If you're fertile, typically, like you're young, you're healthy. Fertility
Mm.
is a sign of good health, and they've used it for fertility. And so then, when research, got their hands on it, they realized that it does lead to increased sperm mobility.
Really?
Yeah, sperm mobility and maybe sperm count. I'm not exactly sure, but also increases. It helps to balance hormones, so it's good
Mm.
with hormones
Okay.
and also good for minerals. And so our body needs these minerals in order to, everything is like chemical signaling, it's the way cells kind of communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And so it's like getting the right ingredients in. So they've been using it for thousands of years, and now it's becoming a popular supplement here in the United States. People are using it.
Very interesting. Yeah, it's and this. Hey, everything goes here. So let's be honest. Like honestly, since taking it, and for the men out there, like I've actually experienced more hard-ons. I'm waking up in the middle of the night, I go to the bathroom. I'm like, holy cow, is this still working or what, dude? So I feel like it actually, is increased my testosterone, and I feel a lot better because of it. And I'm just working out. I'm not doing any supplements for like testosterone supplements. And I tried, and I did for 6 months. I did the TRT,
Right.
and then I got off of it because I didn't like taking the injections and doing all that. I
It's
just
a lot of
didn't.
work.
It's a lot of work,
Yeah.
and I was starting to get acne in the chest and stuff, and I was like, nah, I'm done with this.
Yeah, you're too young. A
Yeah.
lot of people are jumping to the TRT a little bit early
Mm-hmm.
because it is a shortcut. But ultimately, I got attracted to Shilajit mainly because I was talking with the naturopathic doctor,
Hmm.
and I was looking for ways to increase testosterone naturally. I was really on that, you know, in that area of just like trying to find all the resources that
Yeah.
are good for testosterone naturally. And Shilajit was one of those things that has been studied. So I was like, okay, let's take a look at the
Wow.
science and research a little bit about that. It's definitely not like a testosterone booster. It's not like a shot of TRT. Like, don't
Yeah.
have those expectations, but used gradually over time, it can really help to balance hormones.
Hmm.
Also, that's when, around the same time was red light conversation.
Ah.
I mainly got attracted to red light therapy because I had seen some articles that there was a way to improve testosterone
Hmm.
naturally. And then I learned the mechanism of
Hmm.
action, which was essentially we have these Leydig cells in our testicles,
Okay.
and any cell has mitochondria, and mitochondria are responsible for producing energy for the cell.
Mm.
So think about mitochondria like a bunch of popcorn that like lives inside your cell,
Okay.
and there's I think thousands of mitochondria. And so when the mitochondria are healthy, they're
Mm.
like your engine in your car that is healthy. And when you give your engine good fuel, like it produce output.
Yeah.
Just like if you put high octane fuel in your truck, you're gonna feel it right away.
Yeah.
If you go from 80, what is it, 87
Like 91 or
to
something.
91, right?
Yeah.
You'll feel a difference. Like you'll
Mm-hmm.
way more pep. And so ultimately, mitochondria is responsible for producing energy.
Mm.
So if your Leydig cells, right, are
Mm-hmm.
being exposed to this wavelength, this spectrum of light, this red
Mm.
light, which comes from the sun, it's a
Yeah.
spectrum of the sun, then what happens, they help to essentially, there's a long process called the Krebs cycle that helps to convert that into ATP. And so
Ah.
if your cells are healthy and they're producing energy, and then if your mitochondria is healthy and they're producing good
Yeah.
energy, then the cell is healthy. And every cell has a
Mm.
different responsibility and job, right? We have
Yeah.
like trillions of cells. So Leydig cells play a role in the production of testosterone.
Okay.
That's why you see this like buzz, sometimes you'll see like Dave Asprey or Certified Health Nut
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of in the sun, exposing their genitals right to the sun
Yep.
in the morning or in the
Yeah.
evening, because that's when the red light wavelength is most apparent.
Ah.
Yeah.
And I do that in the morning every day with red light. So
Yeah.
that probably helps as well. It's not just Shilajit out
Yeah.
there for
It's a
everyone.
combination.
It's a combination of things. And so I'm curious, like for, anyone who's viewing and listening, what does your morning routine look like?
So my morning routine, it changes,
Really?
Yeah, it changes. I experiment. I just kind of try to see, everybody's busy. I'm busy too.
Yeah.
So I try to find like simple things that I can do that are practical that I could actually like commit to doing.
Okay.
Because I see a lot of influencers online and it's like, oh, I do all of these things. It's like, man, like who has 2 hours to go through this checklist of things to do?
Yeah.
But the highest things I prioritize is sunlight. I really prioritize sunlight. It just feels good to wake up and get outside.
Okay.
So when I'm at home, I get up, I go outside, I stand in the yard, I just look at the sun. I just like have a moment to myself. I ground. I really believe in grounding.
Yeah.
Grounding is like it's just so simple. It just makes so much sense. I mean, literally human beings have been connected to the earth for thousands and thousands of years. In the
Yeah.
1940s or 50s, I think, more or less, we started manufacturing rubber soles for all of our sneakers. And
Ah,
so now
interesting.
everything is rubber, right? Even our dress shoes these days are rubber.
They are.
Prior to that, everything was organic materials, leather. So very rarely are we connected to the earth
Mm-hmm.
at any time. And I just really believe in grounding, and I usually feel calm and nice when I'm standing on the grass.
Yeah.
So that's like one of the easiest things I do, go outside. But before I even walk outside, I think hydration is really important and good hydration. So I use, just like good filtered water.
Okay.
And then I put Baja Gold salt. I really like the
Ah.
Baja Gold salt.
Okay.
Yep. And
Okay.
I put like a pinch of Baja Gold salt.
Yeah.
I put apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
I put some lemon juice,
Yeah.
organic lemon juice. Put the Baja Gold salt. I like whip that up, and that's the first thing that hit my stomach every morning.
I did the same thing.
Yep,
I do the Celtic salt on my side.
which is great. And so I hydrate first, then I go outside. I'm lucky enough to have a cold plunge outside, so I will utilize the cold plunge. I don't do it every
Up
single.
next for me.
I don't do it every single day, but I will use it
Okay.
as needed. The other thing I do is just like honestly, just like light movement. Troy Casey actually taught me some stuff that he likes
Really?
to do. Yeah, because he's really into Tai Chi and stuff. So I just like try to like move my body, get my joints loose, get blood flowing,
Yeah.
right? Because your body's just been in sleep for about 8 hours.
Mm.
So your heart rate is low, your
Mm-hmm.
respiratory rate's low, your body's healing and recharging
Okay.
overnight.
Okay.
That's the whole purpose.
Yeah.
And so your nervous system is also geared towards more parasympathetic when you're sleeping,
Got it. Got it.
deep sleep cycles. And so I'm really just trying to wake the body up,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
getting a bath of light, right, from the sun, getting my feet on the bare ground, right, getting electrons from the earth. You actually get electrons from the earth. And
Oh, I love
electrons,
that.
they literally come through your feet and they literally are clearing out free radicals in the body.
Wow.
So if you think about it, if you're not grounding ever and you're building up all these free radicals in the body and then you don't ground, like you're getting this
Mm-hmm.
these issues, really inflammatory issues, right?
Yeah.
Buildup of free radicals. And that's why we feel so good when we go to the beach because you're getting a dose of grounding from the sand. You're getting a dose of electrons from the ground. You're getting a dose of electrons from the crashing waves. If you
Wow.
go in the ocean, you're right, you're in salt water, which is being absorbed through your skin.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're getting a big dose of obviously sunlight, depending on the day, the type of spectrum, whether it's,
Wow.
afternoon UV or whether it's morning, more red light waves.
Yeah.
So yeah, nature really has all the answers. The problem is like we just don't interact with nature too much. And even when we do, we're hiking, we have a hat on, which I understand, not everybody can withstand the sun. We are not grounded because we're wearing like some sort of rubber sneakers or rubber hiking boots.
Yep.
Um, and ultimately, a lot of people are putting lots of sunscreen on. And so we're like really protecting ourselves in a weird way from nature. But nature is the key to everything. And so biohacking can get really complicated because there's all these different therapies and devices.
Yeah.
But if you really take let's like a zoom out and take a big picture of like what are these devices doing? All they are doing is mimicking nature in some way, shape, or form. Red light is mimicking the sun. PEMF mats are mimicking grounding. Cold water therapy is mimicking a cold stream.
Mm.
Hot tubs are essentially mimicking like a thermal bath or something like that
A
that you would
hot
find in
spring
a
or
hot
something.
spring in
Yeah.
nature. Saunas were used by Native Americans and
Hmm.
all kinds of indigenous people for spiritual healing, and basically where they're using just fire and rocks. They
Wow.
heat rocks,
Yeah, yeah.
and then the rocks are essentially putting off the heat,
Hmm.
and then they're
Hmm.
pouring water over the rocks, and that's producing steam. And then they would put all kinds of different you know, plants on the steam. So whether it be,
Ah.
yeah, and so that's getting mystified into the air,
And then you're
and then
breathing.
you're breathing that in as
Got it.
well.
Got
And
it.
so that's just been something that humans have been doing for as long as we've been around. And now you're
Wow.
seeing these technologies that are essentially just mimicking these old
Mm.
practices, but they're really just old practices.
Yeah,
And
and
so
it's
you can get all of it for free just by going outside.
yeah, exactly. I love that. That was definitely there's your lift off. Okay, there's your lift off and things you could do today to be able to like just get grounded, start your day off, and go through that process. And I love that. I love that you play around a little bit about like how things work, and then like depending on the day and the schedule, and you're busy. I'm a little bougie. Like I give myself like 3 hours a day, every single day. From like I do the same thing for the hydration, and then I go in and I go do the red light, and I'm just pretty much just naked. Do that with the Wim Hof breathing. I love the Wim Hof breathing. You guys got to check that out. And then there's a couple other ones I've found online, and then from there, then I'll go and then work out. And then after the workout and then the cardio, then I do the infrared, and then I do the cold, and then I do the hot. Pretty much Monday through Friday. And then I've actually kicked back workout to 4 days a week for workout with weights. And then
Nice.
I take off Friday, Saturday, Sunday for that time to just recharge and get ready for the next week.
Yeah, if people really took breathwork seriously, breathwork's one of those things that a lot of times people will pop in for a class or they hear people talking about it on podcasts and they know it's
Yeah.
like good for you and they know it's
It sounds cool, but
yeah, but if you like really took it seriously and actually devoted a practice where
yeah.
you woke up every day and did something like Wim Hof method breathing,
Hmm.
and then, just putting all the science aside, right? Because we could really go down that rabbit hole, but the amount of natural energy that your
Mm.
body can produce from a very simple breathing exercise. It's
Yeah.
literally an 11-minute investment of your time. And then balancing your nervous system so that before you tackle the day, right, which is messages, if you're a business owner, you're getting messages, emails, all kinds of things are coming at you, by the time it's 8 a.m., right?
Yeah.
And so you have appointments, you have things to do. If you have kids, like you have responsibilities.
Mm.
So instead of being like impulsive and reactionary throughout the entire day,
Yeah.
where you're not making the best decisions,
Hmm.
and then a lot of times that leads into the evening time. Like if you're laying down in bed and you're kind of circulating, like, what did I do today? Revisiting conversations that you had, and you're kind of giving yourself some grief, like, I could handle that a little bit better. I could approach that a little bit better. You're basically having to correct all those things the next day, and hopefully like have better outcomes with your communication and decisions that you're making. And the best way to really make good decisions is to have a balanced nervous system prior to making the decisions. Because if you just really get into the anatomy of how the body is built, it is really built to keep us out of danger in many ways. You have two essentially modes of the autonomic nervous system. You have the sympathetic nervous system and you have the parasympathetic nervous system. And sympathetic nervous system is designed for fight or flight,
Yeah.
and it's designed to keep us really highly alert in
Hmm.
a dangerous situation
Okay.
before there's even like an attack. Let's just say like you're in the forest and you know there's a 500 years ago, whatever it might be, and you hear something in the distance, like you're going to be super alert. You don't know what it is, right? Maybe you're
Yeah.
hunting, maybe you're looking for food, maybe and so your nervous system is going to be geared towards being really alert,
Okay.
really impulsive.
Yeah.
Impulsive plays a role. Like you need to know, do I need to attack or do I need to run? And
Yes.
so the body's primed for getting into a fight and producing adrenaline
Mm.
to get through that fight, or it's designed to flight and just literally take off. So when your body is in
Mm.
this nervous system mode of fight or flight, sympathetic dominance, what happens is blood flow is being sent to the extremities,
Got it.
and you're fighting or you're flighting. So blood flow needs to go there. Blood carries oxygen. Oxygen is energy. So blood
Mm.
flow is everything. You know what I mean? Just
Mm.
like you mentioned, having more hard-ons, basically your brain is, essentially sending blood flow to that area, right?
Mm.
Blood carries oxygen, so blood flow is literally everything. If you have good blood flow, like typically you have a good life because, you have good delivery of nutrients and oxygen.
Yes.
When older people start to live a more sedentary type of lifestyle,
Yeah.
they're spending a lot of time on the couch, a lot of time watching TV. They're not getting steps in. They're not moving.
Mm.
All the blood flow is just like really starts to degrade.
Yeah,
And then you
stagnant.
start to have like a water retention in the legs. You have problems with the lymphatic system. You have swelling. And then you start to really just develop all of these cardiovascular issues because you have bad blood flow. And so even
Mm.
cardiovascular surgeons, right, what are they always trying to do is open up blood flow. They're literally inserting stents, right, stents into
Yeah.
people's arteries to open things up so that there's more blood flow. And so blood flow really is the key to everything.
Mm.
It's like the key to life and longevity. And so when you're doing simple things like hot tub and or sauna and cold tub, all you're really doing is working. Well, you're doing a lot of variety of things, but one
Yeah.
of the main things you're doing is redirecting blood flow. When you go into cold water, everything gets redirected towards the core so that the organs are staying warm, right,
Yeah.
from the blood.
Yeah.
And when you're doing something hot, like a sauna, and you start to heat up, all the blood flow is being directed towards the extremities,
Got it.
right? So you're just redirecting blood flow. And by doing that, you're essentially exercising
Mm.
about 80,000 miles of circulatory system that you have in your body.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So blood flow is really important. That's why walking is really important because you're improving blood flow. Obviously, exercise in any shape or form is going to increase blood flow.
Yeah.
And then doing all the different recovery services that we talked about. One of the main things that they all have in common is they help with blood flow, redirecting blood flow.
Let's go. So I love that segment. If there's anyone out there that's having issues with flow, blood flow, stents, what have you, like these are all things that you could be doing to be able to get better and to have better flow. And it's not rocket science. I mean, you have to have the will and the want to do it. And that's where for me, I've been working on reverse psychology, saying that like I am I am ready for the challenge of age. And as I get older, how to keep the blood flow going, keep my health good, and like go through that process because I'm committed to being the best version of myself. What is like 1% better every day or whatever the case may be. And because it's fun, and I love you coming on. I'm so grateful because we can help just one person out there, maybe many, right? At the end of the day, to be able to think about these things and apply them to their life and then let us know how they serve you. It's like,
Yeah, the health world is getting really complicated, and I think there's a lot of people that are confused.
yeah,
I mean, you're watching, Robert Kennedy and different people getting selected for the organizations
yeah,
that
yeah,
run our
yeah.
Medicare medical systems. But in reality, it's simple. We've overcomplicated it. I think the terms turn a lot of people off when you start getting into like the deep science. They
Mm,
don't understand it. They don't really know what it's doing. But it's really the basics. Is that when you look at Prague,
mm.
what were they doing in Prague to live a healthy lifestyle? They literally are walking, so that's helping with blood flow and
Yep.
movement. You're activating your muscles every time you walk. So walking is probably one of the healthiest, most underrated things that we can do. And I think the science says we should be getting about 8,000 steps or so per day.
Wow.
And I think on average, Americans are getting less than 3,000 steps a day. And so that's a big issue with overall metabolic health.
Mm.
So it's literally walking, getting a good dose of sunshine. It's literally grounding, connecting with the earth. It's doing something to strengthen your muscles. A lot of people choose weightlifting, but there's lots of other things that you can do to
Definitely.
strengthen your muscles. And then when we go into diet is so complicated because of the processed food and the marketing companies. They've made it really impossible to navigate. And so people are trying to read ingredients and trying to make good decisions. But I always like to go back to shows like, you ever watch Naked and Afraid?
A couple episodes, yeah.
I like that show. I think it's like a really difficult challenge. So I always have a lot of respect for people who are willing to do that. I mean, to be in nature without no food and water and have to find resources
And no clothes.
hard enough on its own. Add clothes to the element, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh wow, like you're really vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And not just from the psychological element of like, oh, someone's going to see me naked. They get past that usually in a few days,
Yeah.
but it's the bugs, you know,
Oh
laying on
yeah.
the floor. It's the mosquitoes. It's like, oh my, you know, there's so many things that
Hmm.
like, right? Because this is your protective layer, is your skin.
Yeah.
You know, it's your protective layer, so you're vulnerable.
Mm.
The clothes help us to protect that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Shoes, they have nothing. But if you think about like what they're doing is they're literally looking for food all of the time. So they're building shelter, which is obviously movement and energy.
Mm.
Takes, right? You got to chop a tree down so that you can build a little canopy or something like that.
Yeah.
But they're all starving. And they're all starving because they're looking for food. And then they get a win, right? Maybe they
Yeah.
catch a small fish. And now they have a huge dopamine hit. Like you see the expressions on their face. They got the
Yes.
win, they got the dopamine, and now they get the nourishment, and they literally are like enjoying every single bite. And that small little fish that they caught might give them enough energy for a couple of days. And so they all lose a ton of weight on the show because they have to do 21 days or so. So
Wow.
they lose a ton of weight. But if you go back to the way humans have been living for thousands and thousands of years, we were not eating tons and tons of carbohydrates. We
Mm-mm.
weren't eating massive amounts of carbohydrates with very little protein and very little movement.
Yeah.
So the body's really designed essentially to be in a state of ketosis. You're fasting a lot because you have to find food. You're not going
Yes.
to find food on every hunt, right?
Mm-mm.
And even if you go out fishing, you could spend a whole day fishing and come up with nothing,
Yeah.
right? And that's why they get these huge dopamine hits when they get these small wins, when they find some berries. Oh my God, they found some berries. Or they caught a small little fish that two people have to share. Or
Yes.
if they were able to maybe shoot a bird, you know, with an arrow or something like that. And even
Mm.
once again, a small meal.
Yeah.
But they're having to get in the protein. The protein is the key driver to their whether or not they can complete the competition.
Yeah.
If they don't get enough protein for 21 days, they're done. They're tapping. They're out. So it's really about
Wow.
um, energy.
Mm-hmm.
It goes all back to energy. And so we're taking in way more energy than we're using. And that's what's causing the metabolic health and issues, blood sugar
Mm-hmm.
issues. I mean, diabetes is like a real problem in
Yeah.
society. It's like a real problem. Diabetes
Mm-hmm.
is a real problem. Metabolic issues are the main problem. Actually, cardiovascular disease is the number one killer. And then cancer, I see cancer more as a metabolic disease than a genetic disease
Yep.
because it's from our habits,
Yep.
right? And so, really, the top two killers are metabolic issues.
Wow.
And so, we're really taking in a lot of food that our body doesn't recognize because of the chemicals and the
Mm-hmm.
processes and the
Mm-hmm.
dyes, and like, body doesn't quite know what to do with it. And then, of course, we don't have enough output. You know, sometimes people like will be sedentary their entire day. They're at a desk all day, and then they go do like a 45-minute hit class, and then they're sedentary again. And so that's actually not even enough movement.
Yeah.
You know, they really need to be walking more and doing like low impact type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all screwed up, and
Oh, dude.
we have a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do to change like behaviors, and changing behaviors is difficult. Like people want quick fixes,
Yeah.
and that's why pharmaceutical companies do so well because they basically are putting band-aids, quick fixes in a bottle, and they're selling it to you, or they're selling it, you know, right? The insurance is covering it in most cases. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times the medicine doesn't cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And, but at the end of the day, we're still the problem because we're not changing the lifestyle, you
100%.
know, and there's no quick fixes. There's no silver bullet. There's no supplement. Doesn't matter if it's Shilajit or red light therapy or anything. There's no silver bullet. It's
No.
really in our habits, routines is really the key to health.
Dude.
And so I always just tell people start off small. Like, man, like if you're like really in a rut and you haven't really been doing much for your health for
Mm-hmm.
a long time, and now you're like, okay, I need to do something. Maybe
Yeah.
you got some bad news from the doctor, or maybe you've just realized like in your own relationship, maybe you're having relationship problems and you're like, yeah, you need to get moving. There's a lot of motivators that will move us in a sense. Sometimes they don't.
Yep.
But ultimately, if you could just get some small wins, like, okay, I wake up And the first thing I do is I go walk around my neighborhood for the first half hour of my day. And then I come home and then I drink my coffee and then I have my breakfast. And you know what I mean?
Yes.
If you could start off with something like that,
Amen.
those little small wins start to build up and give you more energy and motivation to add the next thing, which might
Yes.
be signing up for that workout class,
Yes.
might be signing up for the yoga membership, it might be signing up for the Optimyze membership, where you're now implementing the recovery services. And so at the end of the day, we really just have to like stack our small wins. And that's really going to give us the motivation, energy to feel good on a daily basis.
Dude, I love that. Amen. That's an awesome segment. And those are basic things that I think anyone can out there can do. And from my understanding, from like, I like to say that I've broken out, not 100% out of this matrix. And what comes up for me is that a lot of times when you think about from the conception of grade school, you go to school and they teach you math and science and history and that type of stuff. And
Right.
they neglect to teach us things like, hey, financial literacy or health and wellness. And so what I've learned is so I use my Fitness Pal and I know that I only get 2,101 calories. And I made it 111 angel number. I don't know, whatever. And so I know that's all I can have. And I worked with the trainer, and the trainer said, okay, Norm, if you were just on life support and you're going to just be on life support, you can't do anything. 1,700 calories just for this body to stay alive.
Right.
And then if I'm at, say, 2,100, then I'm at a little bit of a surplus. But if I get like 30 to 40 minutes of cardio and I'm doing my weights, then I could potentially build muscle.
Right.
And so I'm thinking to myself, like, if us, it sucks that we have to work backwards here because the system never was proactive to make us, oh, we're supposed to be this superpower. Well, if we're going to be a superpower, then why don't we serve and support everyone from conception? Because we don't know the difference between what our parents and our grandparents' parents have taught us. And so now we're like in 2025 working backwards to be like, how do we fix all these issues? They're so fucking complicated, all because of the dollar. And it sucks. It's almost like, was it set up this way?
Well, if you look at the traditional education systems, I mean, they're really designed to produce like factory workers and stuff like that. You know, they needed people to fill job positions, right?
Yeah.
So they need to learn basic skills.
Yeah.
And if you even look at schools, they look like kind of penitentiaries, you know?
They do.
Yeah. And
The
growing up in New
gates.
York, yeah, we had like big, big fences and barbed wire and yeah, all concrete
Wow.
and so, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You know, I get it. It's a different age now. People are learning really different now. I
Big
mean,
time.
you could learn more from YouTube than you probably can from your teacher, you know, on any subject, right? You can
Yeah.
find really any subject out there. It doesn't matter what you're into. So, yeah, I mean, things are changing, humanity's changing, and we're
Mm-hmm.
adjusting. I mean, all of these screens and technology that we have, I mean, this is really new. I mean, just look at the setup that you have here.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see stuff like this, 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Mm-mm.
And we're adapting. Our parents are baby boomers. And
Mm-hmm.
so essentially they had televisions and they had a handful of channels, to choose from, not
Mm-hmm.
many. And then at nighttime, television was off. Like they would literally send you, like on the TV would come on a message like,
Really?
oh yeah, I remember growing up and like after a certain hour, like that was it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was it. So
Interesting.
yeah, TV was done. There was no more programs. And then they got into the infomercials, right? And then they started like putting out infomercials. And then cable came along and they gave you more variety, right? You
Okay.
had cable. And then so then you can have like different options.
Yeah.
And then everything just started stacking, right? And then we had
Interesting.
Blockbuster Video and we had to go out and VHS tapes. And so
Yeah.
we had like all of these options. And now there's endless options. Oh my God, with the
It's
apps.
overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to like subscribe to each one. Everyone has probably an Amazon Prime. They have a Netflix. They have what is it?
Hulu or.
Hulu, HBO Max. Like
Mm-hmm.
they all stack up, and it's really all options. And so the baby boomers really were the first to like disassociate, and that's why baby
Mm.
boomers are really addicted to television. When our Gen Z and the younger people in our generation, they're really addicted to tablets, right?
Yes.
Tablets is their thing. They do everything through text, everything
Mm-hmm.
through their
Mm-hmm.
phone. Baby boomers were really trained, like the television was like their friend playing background music all the time, right? It was always
Yeah.
playing something in the background. And so, essentially it's the same thing. We're just disassociating. Prior to that was all newspapers. Everybody like woke up, the
Mm.
first thing they wanted to get their hands on was newspaper,
What's
like
going
what's
on?
going on in the world, what's
Yeah.
going on in my city. And I love this meme I saw, and it's like a present day picture of a bunch of people on a subway,
Okay.
and they're all looking on their phones. Every single person. It's a stacked, like maybe 5 p.m. or something like that,
Okay.
and everybody's staring at their cell phone. But then they show you a picture from years ago, prior to phones, prior to TVs.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone had a newspaper.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like we're just like attracted and addicted to kind of information and being in the
Yes.
know. And
Yes.
the typewriter was like really powerful and really changed humanity in many ways, and the printing press and all that kind of stuff. We're all just trying to stay connected.
Yeah, most definitely makes a whole lot of sense. And what I've learned now, because of all the options, it's like I only really want to focus on whatever's in line with my visions, my goals, and my future self that I wish to become. And so that's why now it's like, doesn't matter if it's like the screensaver on my phone, it's my vision board. It doesn't, my alarm, it goes off 3 times a day to go over my vision board. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's YouTube, and it's crazy because you can now hack the algorithm. If you just pay attention to things that are in line with your goals, all I see is like abundance, how to achieve goal, like whatever it is, health, like,
Right.
some car stuff because I'm a car junkie.
It's going to feed you that.
It feeds it to you. And that's why I don't know if you out there are understanding that that's a thing. But my wife, we went to Black Angus, and I had a friend of mine who invited me, and she married a Filipina. And then he found out that my whole team's in the Philippines. And so we connected, whatever else, and she forgot her phone. And I didn't know, but on the Explore page, there was a bunch of explicit just stuff. And I don't really pay attention too much, and I probably should have because I could have said I'm not interested, not interested, but she's seen it. And then I filled it. I got in trouble and that. And she was like, who's this and who's that? And blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, so sorry. Like, I didn't mean to do that. Because when you go through the activity feed, it's just like the positive stuff. And you look at my stories, it's just the positive stuff. But then the activity, the actual, like, you want like the little magnifying glass on Instagram, it shows you all the stuff. And so we had to clean that up because it's like this algorithm, man, they will feed you. And it's sometimes like get in trouble with your wife out there. So, gentlemen,
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, the algorithms are really smart, and
it's very smart.
you have like some of the smartest scientists in the world that are working for these big companies,
Yeah.
and they've essentially been infiltrated. And that's what Robert Kennedy Jr. is talking about with the food industry,
Mm.
is that we've taken some of the smartest scientists, and they used to work for the cigarette companies, and they were really working on
Yeah.
creating addictive chemicals that would keep people, attached to that specific brand, whether it's Marlboro or Parliament or whatever was going on at that time. And then I would say in the 90s, late 80s, I'm not sure what time, but smoking started to be banned, right? Can't smoke on planes anymore.
Yep.
You used to be able to smoke on
That's
planes.
crazy that you could.
Yeah, they used to have ashtrays. In my helicopter in the U.S. Navy,
Yeah.
some of the old versions of the helicopter,
Yeah.
they would have ashtrays still. So people would smoke in flight.
I mean, it sounds cooler than it is health wise. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's crazy that that's how it used to be because you just be in a big hot box, especially in like a commercial jet.
Oh man, I can't even imagine being on a plane where a good portion of the crowd is smoking cigarettes. But mainly the scientists have developed ways to create additives, all right, to these. I mean, at the end of the day, tobacco is not bad for you.
Yeah.
Right? Tobacco is not bad for you. It's sacred. It's used in many cultures around
Yeah.
the world, especially in South American cultures, indigenous people. But it's the additives, right? Over the
Yeah.
years, so there's very smart scientists finding ways
Mm.
to lure you in, to addict you to these products. Well, when smoking became not so cool and started getting banned from restaurants and different things like that, a lot of this focus and money shifted towards food. So
Ah.
now we're in the world of trying to untangle and unwind all of the chemicals that have been put in the food
Mm.
by very smart scientists doing lots of research to know what chemicals will do what, will trigger what, some sort of biological process to wanting you to have
Mm.
more. And so most people just blame the nicotine or the tobacco, but it's really the chemicals. And so
Mm.
that's like a big issue. And you're seeing the same strategy
Mm-hmm.
with electronics. So the same strategies, you're
Mm.
getting really smart scientists from top schools working for the big companies to figure out how to keep you on the platform.
Yeah.
And that's why scrolling is the thing. I mean, that wasn't even a term 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a term.
No.
But now it's like,
The doom scroll or the doom scroll.
right. And so now they've learned how to get people connected and keep them hooked
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
drug, right? Using these
Mm.
algorithms and what they're feeding you, knowing you, learning about you, and it's going to get even worse with AI, and then feeding you that so that you stay on the platform.
Yeah.
So essentially, we're being attacked by the food industries, and that's why the Robert Kennedy Jr. and the crew that he put together is trying to remove a lot of these dyes and
They just
chemicals.
they just passed something, right? There's some of the dye, like the red's gonna be gone, and
Yeah,
a
there's a
couple of them.
lot. They're forcing some of the big companies to adjust. I think Tyson Foods, which is like known for making a lot of like chicken products, they're
Ah.
being forced to essentially remove certain things from their ingredients. You have all the beverage companies are going to be forced,
Mm.
right? Because if you look at the back of a Gatorade, you see all these dyes,
Mm-hmm,
all these
mm-hmm,
things that
mm-hmm.
were healthy, athletic drinks,
Yeah.
right? So now they're being forced to do it. They definitely would
Mm-hmm.
have not have done it on their own because they want you to be addicted to
Yeah.
their products. It's good sales, it's good money, right? And yeah, we have a lot coming at us right now. I really don't know how we're going to adjust. Sometimes I live in a bubble because I'm around a lot of healthy people now because of the industry I'm in.
Yeah.
So the types of conversation I'm having is about like health, wellness, biohacking. But then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I go home and I'm just like, not with the people that are doing the stuff that I'm doing here.
Mm.
And they're still doing a lot of the same things that we did, growing up, whether
Yeah.
it's like eating, certain types of pastries or cereals or
Mm.
the types of foods. So yeah, we're in trouble.
We are.
We have a lot of work to do to unwind the addiction to technology, the addiction to food,
Yeah.
the addiction to, pornography and all the other
Mm-hmm.
things that are really harming the minds of people,
Mm-hmm.
but also the biology of people. I mean, birth rates are down, sperm counts are down, testosterone levels are down, metabolic disease is up, chronic illness is up, cancer is up,
Diabetes is up.
diabetes is up, medical misdiagnosis is
Yeah.
up, which is the third killer, by the way. We talked about cardiovascular
Yeah.
disease, number one, cancer,
Yeah.
number two, number three is medical.
Misdiagnosis.
Yes,
Wow,
that's
dude.
number 30 killer in the United States.
Wow, if you didn't know that, now you know.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And it's so interesting. I was just talking to, who was I talking to? I was talking to someone, and it came up a little bit too before our show as well, that like, that's what happens. They go in, and is this you? You go into the doctors because you're having this issue. And the next, they're like, oh, well, this can help. Try this. And then you try it, and then maybe it doesn't help. So I'll try this too. And the next, like, well, now I'm feeling kind of like lethargic or tired, oh, well, then you need to try this. And then before you know it, you're trying all these things instead of, like you said earlier in the show, like, let's go out and get some sun. Let's get our feet in the grass. Let's ground. Like, let's get good hydration. Let's get some good dry hydration or the hydration drink like you take in the morning. Like, I mean, it's just so interesting to me. But what I love, and that's what I love about this opportunity and this show and Optimize, is that we come together as like this tribe, and then we go out in the world and we try to just like plant seeds to help people. It's like, here, check this out. Hey, check that out. To do the best we can, because we want our loved ones to live long and prosper. And it sucks. Like my grandmother, she's going through it, and I try to say like, hey, let me send you some naturopath doctors, and it's like, you're in pain. Don't you want to try something? What's the worst that can happen to you? Is death? The medical system, anyways. I don't know
Right.
if they really want to keep you alive.
Well, it's a big issue right now because insurance kind of has everybody by the balls, right?
Oh yeah.
So we've all been trained that, if you need medical attention of any kind, you go through your insurance because we pay it every month, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If you work for a
It
corporation,
makes
they're
sense.
pulling it out of your paycheck.
Hmm.
And so the, the connection is I don't feel well. I need to go to the doctor and I'm going to use my insurance to do that. And unfortunately, the doctors have a lot of limitations on what they can do. That's why when you get blood work done from a traditional primary care medical doctor,
Yeah.
they're not looking at certain things like
Mm.
inflammatory markers. They're
Okay.
not looking at things like vitamin D.
Ah.
They're not looking at a deep dive on thyroid. And so they're missing the big picture of stuff. And they're
Mm.
all very specialized. So they just kick you around to different people. And if you have a serious issue, then they'll like, okay, let's run more labs and we'll take a look at this. But honestly,
Interesting.
You can bypass all of it. And there's so many companies now, or you go to a naturopathic doctor
Mm-hmm.
and they'll just look at 100 biomarkers and you'll spend maybe $400 for that. And you'll get a big picture, zoom out view of like what is going on with your health.
Yeah.
And then you can make the adjustments as needed through supplementation, through lifestyle change, through therapies and fitness and all the other things that make sense. And the doctors aren't doing that because they're not trained on nutrition. So they're not talking about nutrition. I go to the doctor all the time with my mom, and she's dealt with some cardiovascular issues,
Okay.
and she had a stroke last year, and so we've been recovering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not one doctor that we've seen in this whole process of all the appointments that she has over the last year and a half has recommended any sort of dietary changes,
Really?
knowing that she's a type 2 diabetic. They don't even address like that sugar is like a contributor to any of this.
That should be against the law.
They're just not trained to do it. The insurance companies really, at the end of the day, they have to bill insurance, and the insurance will make the determination of what they'll pay. And a doctor's office is a business. A hospital is a
Yes.
business. I think people forget about that.
Don't forget.
Yep. So when it comes to primary care, if you're like want to feel better, you want to feel good, or if you have some sort of autoimmune disease, you're way better off going to a naturopathic doctor who's going to sit down with you, who's going to give you advice on nutrition. It's going to give you advice on habits, routines. It's going to give you advice on supplementation and help to find the root cause. And if you go see a naturopathic doctor, or if you go to like a functional medicine doctor, in many cases, a lot of times you're paying out of pocket for that. If you have an emergency and you get hit by a car, God forbid, or something like that, go to the hospital, use insurance, like
It's
obviously
great.
all of that. But I don't think insurance was ever intended to really do what we use it for, which is like that primary care feature.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big mess that they're trying to clean up right now, because
Mm.
we're spending billions of dollars on a medical system. And what's happening to our outcomes? It's getting worse.
Yeah.
Chronic illness is up.
Yeah.
Cancer's up. Like
Yeah.
everything's up. So clearly it's not working.
Nothing. Yeah.
It's
Nothing's
not
working.
working. And then, I mean, there's so much fraud and waste and abuse and that whole system, which are also uncovering. They've uncovered quite a bit already.
Mm.
But that's also a big part of the problem. But I have free healthcare through the VA. I'm a veteran. I can go to the
Wow.
VA, for almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if I need an MRI or if I need an X-ray or
Mm-hmm.
anything that's costly, I would definitely utilize their services.
Yeah.
But when it comes to primary care, no way.
Yeah.
I'm not going to,
Dude,
because if
I'm
I'm in
not
pain,
either.
if I'm in pain, they're going to prescribe me a pain medication or some sort of pill.
Yeah.
They're not going to, and which is fine temporarily, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're really in a lot of pain, like it could be helpful for a period of time, but
Yeah.
we all know what's happened with like the opioid, like opioids are like a big problem.
Huge. My grandmother's on them right now, and I went out there about a week and a half, about 2 weeks ago. I was out there for 9 days, and I saw her, and it's just, yeah. She's like, "Oh yeah, how you doing?" "Oh well, took my pain pill, so I'm good for the next 4 hours." I'm like,
Right.
"Grandma, like,"
Yeah.
and then you're constipated, can't go to the bathroom,
Right.
and you're
All the other
depending on
effects.
that.
Yeah.
I feel like not only does the health system need to be completely reformed, let's change the name, please. It shouldn't be called health insurance anymore. I don't know what it needs to be called, but it's not health anything.
Right. Here's the problem. Nothing's going to be fixed without our participation. And so while it's easy to throw stones from the sidelines, right?
Yeah.
And just tell like the organizations what they should and shouldn't be doing.
Mm.
Here's the best way. Stay off the system. Get off the system. Like get off the system by not participating in, what their recommendations, in many
Yes.
cases, because at the end of the day, you can go and get your own blood work now. You can get an evaluation of your blood work from a naturopathic doctor. You can do a lot of things, but ultimately your habits, your routines are going to dictate what your health is. We
Amen.
know what's good for us. We know, like we act like everybody's so stupid. Like, here's the deal. Look at what's that movie that they did about McDonald's? Super
Oh
Size
yeah,
Me.
super size me.
Right? A lot of people have seen the movie, and it kind of went viral, and people clearly see that the fast food industry is like not good for you.
Clearly.
But if you drive to McDonald's in any neighborhood, you will see a line in their drive-through. So, it starts with us. We have to make the decision.
Amen.
And if we're not mentally healthy, we're going to lead us to bad decisions.
Yeah.
You were chasing dopamine, in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really starts with us. Like the country, yeah, they can ban stuff, the FDA. They could like obviously put more pressure on the companies that are producing the food, which is very well needed.
Yeah.
But guess what? Like I saw an announcement the other day. They said, "Oh, Pepsi Cola is like changing their ingredients, and they've agreed to having removing those ingredients by 2020. Uh, yeah, 2020,
6.
2026. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's either going to happen by the end of this year or early
Wow.
next year.
Interesting.
Okay, but guess what? How about just not drink Pepsi Cola, right? Just like like why you gotta wait like for them to remove the harmful ingredients that we already know that it's not good for you. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, like having a high sugar drink like in the afternoon or in the
Mm-hmm.
morning is just gonna crash you. So yeah, it all starts with us. Like nothing is gonna really move in the right direction unless we start making better decisions. And so that's really what Optimize is here for, is that we're helping people to make changes to their everyday life by creating a routine that is simple and easy and something they can do in their neighborhood
Yeah.
by doing the circuit that we've curated.
Dude, I love that. I love that 100%. And before we get into, I want to get to a little bit into optimize the circuit you created, what that looks like. Last thing I want to say on that segment of healthcare, it sucks because they make it mandatory to pay for it. And so, Liftoff agent pays for my health insurance because I'm self-employed. And it sucks because even though I don't want to use it and I don't use it, and we're talking right now to then help other people start to change by leading by example, not using the systems, not following their misdiagnosis, maybe going the natural pathway. But every month it's like that $500, it's like every month. And it's like, I wish I couldn't, but it's
It's
like,
kind of like an emergency fund. I mean, in a way,
yeah,
like, right? Like health insurance is great, right? It's great for an emergency. It's great for if you break your leg and you need to get x-rays or MRIs or any of those things done. I think it's great. But like if you want to just be healthy in everyday life, you kind of have to take matters into your own hands, which
hmm,
means you have to be involved in the process.
yeah,
And so there's a lot of outlets of things that you can do now. But there's also a big issue with the supplement industry now. Like there's an
yeah,
overabundance of supplements, and so just like pharmaceuticals, it's like, take this pharmaceutical and, this will help to correct or fix or cover up some sort of underlying issue. Now everybody's like trying to like over supplement their way to health. But it's like I'm going to sit on the couch, I'm going to watch TV, I'm going to make poor food choices, but I'm taking this supplement that I saw some guy on Instagram that was in great shape taking,
yeah,
and that's going to correct all my bad habits. It's not going to happen.
yeah. I lost a bunch of weight because of it. No, 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 no. My appetite's been, curved because of it. No, no, no. Just you got to be mindful. Got to go out. Got to make it happen. I'm right there with you. I'm curious now, getting into the segment more of optimize for the viewers and listeners out there. Now I can't believe we're already an hour in. So now I'm curious to get a little bit more into that because we started off with that at the beginning of our show. First and foremost, I don't think I've ever asked you, where did you even come up with the name Optimize?
So when we were originally forming the company, we had a friend of mine. His name's Tyson, and he was a copywriter and marketing guy. And so what we did was a brainstorming session,
Okay.
which was like to develop a name that everybody felt good about. He was helping us with the creation of our original website.
Okay.
And so we had a brainstorming session, and on that brainstorming session with our web developer, it's a guy named Eric, with my business partner Jesse, and then Tyson, who was doing like a lot of the strategy and all of that.
Yeah.
We just started to really identify words that are commonly used in our industry,
Okay.
and essentially tie it to outcomes. And so the word, optimization, human optimization, optimizing my health, it was just constant. Like you
Wow.
constantly hear, I still hear it all the time. And so we felt that that was a good name to
Mm-hmm.
represent what we were trying to achieve.
Mm.
And so it really, instead of referring to ourselves as kind of like a wellness center, we would often refer to ourselves as like a human optimization center. And so that's what we're trying to achieve through simple techniques that are all um, essentially mimicking nature.
Wow, dude, I love. First off, I just gotta say, I love the name.
Thank you.
Optimize is just a really cool name, and it makes a whole lot of sense. And if you want to optimize, then these are some things that you could do at Michael's facility and Jesse's, or you could do on your own if you're not in the greater Phoenix area. So, what are some things that you recommend from the perspective of your location, Optimize, and like how does it work?
Yeah, so you just gotta really look at like what are the issues in society today that most people are facing. We talked a lot about energy. So energy is a big one. The underlying issue that most people won't share and they're having like physiological, biological like responses to it, they like you could see it in their body is essentially metabolic health, right? So metabolic health is like the main issue. It's like the main issue in society today is metabolic health. And but the issue that most people won't share is mental health. And so
Mm,
mental health is like the biggest issue I think that's facing our nation right now. And so when you're like don't have good mental health, right?
mm,
It's going to lead you to make poor decisions,
yeah.
right? Like when you're like depressed or anxious, like are you really making great decisions when you're in that like that frequency? Like no way.
Mm-mm.
And so a lot of the things that are driving our behaviors actually is mental health, and a lot of times the overweight, and all the other things that we deal with, like body composition, whatever it might be, those are all just like bad choices that we've made over a period of time,
Yeah.
right? I like to say like discipline is the key to happiness in many ways, right? We're all
Mm,
chasing happiness, we're all chasing energy.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So you have to just like take a step back and say, all right, what are the issues in society today? Energy,
mm-hmm.
tons of sleep disorders. Oh my God, the amount of people that are getting poor sleep. I think on average, they said in 1940s, people would sleep on average like over 8 hours a day. And then today, like people on average are getting like 2 hours less than what we were getting in 1940. So we're getting less sleep
Wow.
overall. So we have sleep disorders, metabolic issues.
Okay.
We have, anxiety, depression, right? Tons of mental health,
Yep.
PTSD from a variety of things, whether you're a first responder, whether you're military, or whether you just had traumatic experiences in your life.
Yeah.
There's no shortage of that. Just that's just kind of part of life. And then you're dealing with like the number one killer, right?
Mm.
Inflammation, right?
Yes.
Inflammation, root cause of all disease, right? Autoimmune disease, cancer. At the core, it's inflammation. It's an inflammatory problem.
Yeah.
So when you look at all of the issues, okay, what is happening in society? Why are people going to the doctor? Why are they getting prescribed medications?
Mm.
Right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
To really sum up, they're all doing that for those issues that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So then we're like, okay, how can we curate an experience that tackles all of these different things?
Interesting.
Yeah. So the first thing that you do in our center after you check in and come in is you sit on a nice comfy couch and you do leg compression, arm compression, or hip compression. And
Ooh.
so really that is just mimicking touch. And so these compression legs are squeezing,
Yeah.
improving blood flow,
Okay.
helping to move the lymphatic system.
Mm-hmm.
Improved blood flow helps with heart health.
Okay.
And also you get a chance to down regulate. So we always often tell people like put your phone away for an hour, like just get away for an hour. And so now you're by yourself,
Mm.
getting squeezed, moving blood, moving the lymphatic system,
Mm.
and down regulating the nervous system.
Okay.
Then the next thing you're going to do is change, get into a bathing suit, and then you're going to go sit in an infrared sauna. And the infrared sauna is going to be about 15, 20 minutes, depending on your heat tolerance. What are you doing in infrared sauna? Increasing blood flow because
Okay.
heart rate is elevating. You're sweating, you're detoxing, you're improving cellular health through the near infrared technology, which is
Mm-hmm.
heat,
Mm-hmm.
which we know has a positive effect on mitochondria and cellular health.
Mm-hmm.
You're also moving blood flow. Like you said, the
Mm.
heart rate's getting up and you're reducing inflammation, right? It has an anti inflammatory effect, helps with inflammation. So now you're getting another dose of that. And also, when you get out of the sauna, your nervous system rebalances and it helps to lower blood pressure. So, lowering one of the main benefits of
Oh.
saunas is lowering blood pressure naturally.
Wow.
Do you know how many people are on high blood pressure medications? Like It's a lot. Like,
Could be your answer. Could be your solution compared to pills.
yeah, sauna's really helpful for blood flow, blood circulation,
I love that.
and also lowering blood pressure.
Okay.
All right. Then you rinse off in a rinse station, and then you move into cold water. So
Mm-hmm.
now you get into cold water, right? Cold water also redirecting blood flow to the core. We spoke about that earlier. You're getting an adrenaline dump. The adrenaline is called norepinephrine or
Okay.
noradrenaline.
Yeah.
Powerful, very
Wow.
powerful anti-inflammatory effects. So it's reducing inflammation. Once again, you're adding to the other therapies, also compounding on the reducing inflammation. It's also
Mm.
an immune system builder. We have a lot of immunity issues. Just look at COVID. Oh my God, how many people
Mm-hmm.
got sick and got wrecked by COVID because their immune
Mm-hmm.
system was not really functioning, as it should.
Yeah.
So now you have immune builder, you're lowering inflammation, you're redirecting blood flow, and then the mental health is through the roof because you're
Mm.
getting a big shot of dopamine, you're getting the noradrenaline release, you're doing something difficult. So this whole process is called hormesis.
Okay.
It's just a what doesn't kill you makes you stronger kind of stress. So you're giving your body a good dose of stress.
Let's go.
So you're getting a hormesis effect from the sauna, you're getting a hormesis effect from the cold water therapy, and now you're moving into a hot tub. In the hot tub, you're doing, 5 minutes or so relaxation. Once again, blood flow is now redirecting back to the extremities
Okay.
because, cold directs it inward, hot directs it outward. Relaxation, mental health,
Mm.
muscle, all of that. And then from there, we typically recommend people do another cold plunge, so they'll do maybe a shorter duration or so,
Mm.
getting their body cold again,
Mm.
which also helps with brown fat and visceral fat and weight loss overall,
Yeah.
metabolic. And now you're going into a full body red light therapy. And so
Ah.
now you're getting all of the wavelengths of the red light therapy. What's it good for? Mitochondrial health. What's it good for? Blood flow. What's it good for? We talked a little bit about the testosterone and hormones earlier.
Yeah.
What's it also good for? Inflammation,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
we have something called the PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic field, which is like a really interesting device that pulses essentially electromagnetic frequencies
That's
into your
a
body.
biocharger that I tried with you, right?
Biocharge is separate. We have a
Separate.
PEMF chair, but biocharge is also used in PEMF.
Okay. Okay.
What's PEMF good for? It's good for cellular health,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's good for inflammation. It's good for
Mm-hmm.
pain. It's good for blood flow.
Mm.
And so in our 1 hour experience, you are attacking so many different things. Mental health. You are down regulating your nervous system. You're learning how to adapt and react to stress by using the hormesis effect. You are improving blood rate, blood flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you got
Mm-hmm.
blood flow from the sauna, from the compression, from the hot tub, from the cold tub, from the red light. So
Mm.
you're just compounding on all of these different things.
Mm.
And now you're leaving really good,
Wow.
And so that combined with good nutrition, which in my mind, good nutrition is high protein, high fat, low carbs. And now you're combining that with better sleep. So you're
Yep.
getting more rest,
Yep.
maybe you're getting good 8 hours of sleep, maybe you're getting good 2 hours of deep sleep, maybe a good 2 hours of REM sleep.
Okay.
And that's kind of a recipe for feeling good naturally
Wow.
without being hopped up on all kinds of things.
I will say one of the first, I think it was the first time I went to your Tempe location. So Tempe's the closest to me. I'm here in Gilbert, Arizona with my wife and my daughter. And I did all that. And then after doing that, then Michael took it to a whole nother level and gave me a feel free. I tell you what, dude, when I was done with that session, I felt like $1,000,000. I called my wife and I was just
I
like,
remember
oh my
that.
God, I feel so good. And this, that, and that thing. And feel free is a whole other subject matter, kava, kratom, all that type of stuff. But man, it was just absolutely amazing. You just talking about it makes me want to go tonight. I'm like, I just want to go tonight and like do the whole thing because it feels so amazing to get it done. And coming up with, so now we know the name and then like the process when you come to a facility. How did you even come up with those different types of remedies or therapies?
Well, at the time I was working for the Wim Hof Method organization, if you guys know who Wim Hof is. So I
Mm-hmm.
was already teaching the Wim Hof Method breathing exercises, and I was teaching people about deliberate cold exposure,
Got it.
putting people in ice baths and training them to regulate their nervous system under stress.
Okay.
So mainly it's like stress training. You're learning how to adapt and react to stress in a healthy way, learning how to down regulate
Mm.
your breathing, slow heart rate down, lower brain waves, getting to essentially a meditative state. So I've
Yeah.
already been teaching that,
Okay.
doing it in a workshop setting.
Okay.
I've already done my homework and research on cultures globally that have been using cold water for medicinal practices, spiritual practices. And
Mm.
that's like a whole nother topic we could go down. So I already have done the homework on a lot of these things. Jesse was also a Wim Hof Method instructor. He was also practicing. He was also implementing all of these tools into his life.
Wow.
Sauna, cold plunge, breath work. Those were like the three top ones.
Okay.
Sauna, cold plunge, breath work.
Got it.
And so that's why we teach breath work at our centers too,
Okay.
because we know that there's all these nervous system dysregulation issues in society, fight
Yeah.
or flight people,
Mm-hmm.
super anxious, really
Mm-hmm.
impulsive, all that, right? And so then we started to really add in some of the other things to create a really nice experience. Everything from compression therapy, we eventually added the red light therapy, we eventually
Mm.
added biocharger, we eventually added something called New Calm, we eventually added something called Brain Tap, we eventually added something called
Wow.
Pandora Star, we eventually added something called the Pulse Center's PEMF chair.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So really it was just a combining effort of like how do we tackle the things that are plaguing our communities and societies, and how do we create such a shift in mood via our
Mm.
experience by
Yeah.
combining these therapies synergistically. And so that's what we curated, and we saw the outcomes immediately from people feeling really good when they left,
Yeah.
and then sharing, oh my god, I'm getting better sleep and I have more energy, and things are improving in my life,
Mm-hmm.
my work's improving, my relationships are improving. And so then we're like, okay, this has now become a networking hub. So not only has it
Mm.
become a place where you go and you do, therapeutics, right? But now it's also a place where you're going to connect and find friends. And we have people who have met their partners there. We have
Wow.
four marriages,
What?
four,
Dude.
yeah, four marriages
Congratulations to them.
and one baby.
Wow.
Yeah, and these are literally a couple that met in the sauna at one point and became friends, and then friends turned into dating, and dating turned into marriage, and then marriage turned into,
And the cool thing too at the facilities, I mean, you're very much when you're in the facility, like there's like you're in bathing suits, right? So you're pretty much at the
vulnerable.
most vulnerable, exactly vulnerable state that you can be, and you're doing some of these things that are not easy.
Right.
So I can imagine people meeting there, and it's just like,
Organically, yeah.
yeah,
And it's like you're literally, yeah, like you mentioned a good point, and you're teaching people how to get out of their comfort zone and be comfortable in their own skin. Like that's
yes,
important. Like it's an important part. Not everybody is like ripped and has abs and jacked,
yep,
and all of that. A lot of that stuff is fake and fraud anyway, because half these people are doing plastic surgeries, or they
yeah,
are, hopped up on all kinds of steroids, and they're promoting natural this, natural that, but they're not natural at all.
no,
And so we felt that we now become a community center
mm,
that is also geared for networking and connection.
okay,
And so then it's really, got really popular and became like
wow.
a trendy thing to do, because people were trying to find outlets outside of happy hour and drinking and that kind of stuff. And yeah, it just took off. And then we went with our next center, and then we went with our third center, and we're still growing. So
Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations on that. For anyone who just listened to that segment is curious about, going and trying the facility at Optimize, can we do something? Kind of putting Michael on the spot here. Can we do something if they drop the Liftoff Experience and Norman Kinsey? They go to a facility. I want to get more people in the door to try it. You know what I'm saying? So first off, obviously it's a recommendation. Go do it no matter what. Is there anything? Can they drop a name or something? And
yeah, maybe what we could do at the end of this, when you push it out, we can just literally put a code in, and then they can use the code and come in at like a super discounted price to try it out and do
okay,
all the therapies,
okay,
and literally try out the services for themselves and meet with the people and the staff, and and the vibe. And yeah, I would love to do that. That'd be great.
Awesome. We'll do something like we got to do something fun, like Liftoff or something, like code Liftoff, and then
Perfect.
you can go get Liftoff and get optimized
At the same time.
at the same time, dude. I love that. So, so you have 3 locations right now. You have any plans to leave Arizona and get to other states, or what does that look like for the future? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so a few years ago we franchised. We decided to make a decision that we would love to find people who are like-minded, who practice what they preach, who live
Okay.
this sort of lifestyle, but also wanted to be in business and wanted to be serving the community in this way.
Yeah.
So we are currently working and looking for potential franchisees, so people who want
Ah.
to open up a franchise in their city.
Yeah.
And we now have the ability to do that. We have the playbook, we have the marketing materials, we have the know-how, we have the systems all in place to help you to create a successful business. And we have the ability to put these optimized locations all around the country. And so we've been getting inquiries from all over the place, different cities,
Wow.
of people who are really inspired by their visit and inspired by the experience that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to not only live a life of serving in that way, but also have it in a business model where they can, um, use it as their primary job. Their
Wow.
job of like literally catering to guests every day
Yeah.
and teaching them the benefits and the education and walking them through these processes. I mean, it's a really nice place to work. And we've been so blessed. We've had so many wonderful people who have worked for us over the years. We've been in business now 6 years. We just had our
Wow.
6 year anniversary.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
dude.
And so um, our staff is like, man, this is like the best job I've ever had, because, think about a lot of jobs that people have, right? You work in corporate offices, you got the stress of the corporate office, you're in a, in a,
Fast food or
well, you're in a cubicle all day, you're staring at screens, you're making calls, you're taking calls. Now it's a
yeah.
lot of work from home. So I think that relieved a lot of pressure for people,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are being called back in the office now too. Um, so like the quality of work is like not great. Even like I worked for a university for many years in a corporate setting, and
Mm-hmm.
like quality of work was like not the best. I was literally in a, building with artificial lights, for 9 hours a day, eating, potluck food that somebody brought in,
Mm.
and donuts and bagels for breakfast and all the stuff that, people bring into the offices, and you're not feeling good because you just literally ate a bagel that your body's trying to digest, and you're sitting at a screen typing all day. Like, of course you're not going to feel good.
Yeah.
And then it's really hot here in Arizona. So even to like go for a walk in the mid afternoon at lunch break is like,
No.
if you're dressed up nice, like you're not going to do it. So just not getting any steps in. And then you're driving to work in traffic, and then you're driving home in traffic. You literally just ate up. I used to think about it. You literally just ate up 9 hours of work, right? Because it was 9 hour shift,
Mm-hmm.
with a 1 hour lunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it took you 45 minutes to get to work in traffic. Now it's another 45 minutes on the way home. That's like your whole day. Like, how much actual time do you have in the evening to do the things for you, to
Don't.
refill your cup?
Yeah.
Maybe get a quick workout in on the way home, and then you go
Mm-hmm.
home and you like pig out, and
Yeah.
it's just we're in a bad cycle. We're just in a
Very
really
bad.
bad cycle, and so we have to break the cycle. And so that's why we've curated all these technologies, excuse me, so that people can get it done in a time efficient manner, because we realize that time matters. And I talk about nature all the time, and people have commented, and it makes sense, and I totally understand. Like, I don't have enough time to be in nature all day. Like, I have shit to do. I have kids, and I get it. You're not going to be frolicking in the forest, at 2 in the afternoon, right?
No.
It's
Not
just not our lifestyle anymore.
not in Arizona. I mean, some of us, you have an amazing location where you can just walk not too far from your house and get out to like nature and go trails and hiking and whatnot. But I mean, me too. I try to go out in the back and then go get some sun. And we have some trees out there, but it's like our neighbor's yard. And then
Right.
try to get some grounding. And there's, big old rocks. And
Right.
so it's like, and then fake grass over there.
Yeah, it's not suited.
No.
And one simple thing that you can adjust immediately that's really easy is like, if you have to take a lot of calls for your job,
Mm-hmm.
like just take the call and go on a walk. You know
Ah,
what I mean? Go for a walk in your neighborhood and just like take the call. Like,
yeah.
still like in business mode, like handling what you need to handle, but you're getting your body moving.
I
And
love
so that's
that.
really important. And that's like a simple thing that I do.
Yeah.
I get a lot of calls and a lot of Zooms, which
Okay.
I hate Zoom because like they force you to like sit in front of the screen and just like you're just looking at me and you're not even presenting anything. It's like, what's the
Yeah.
point of looking at each other on the screen?
Yeah.
So now I just like shut the freaking screen off and I just go for a walk and I can get my point across, and talk about the things that need to be addressed.
I
So
love that.
yeah, Zoom is like really infiltrating our world. No one wants to do phone calls anymore. They just want to do Zoom everything.
Yeah.
And so I like to walk and talk. That really helps. Obviously, I wake up every morning. I get some movement, get some sunlight, get some grounding, get some good hydration. Cold plunge every now and then, and do the breath work as well.
Mm.
So those are really helpful. But mainly, it's all about us. Like, what are we going to carve out time for?
Mm-hmm.
And so, entrepreneurs have more flexibility in the sense that they can carve out time at, 1 in the afternoon, or if
Yeah.
you're a real estate person, you can carve out time 1 in the afternoon. I understand that you work in 9 to 5 in a corporate job, like
Yeah.
you can't carve out that time. So you really have to optimize your morning,
Mm-hmm.
or you really have to optimize like your evening
Mm-hmm.
so that you're getting something healthy in,
Yeah.
so that you can feel really good, get that dopamine hit, and really just start to pat yourself on the back that you're, making good progress.
100%. And that's where yesterday my wife and I was just like, it's like we both work from home.
Right.
She has her tea company. I Liftoff Agent. I am a Zoomer, so that's what I do all freaking day long. And I said, like, I don't have any meetings this morning, so I said, why don't we just go out and just like do something different? So we went out, washed our car, and went to this really cool Mad Hatter Kava bar and worked there a little bit, and then went out to lunch and just like y'all can make the decision. I think that so many people forget that they have the choice, and even if you work and have to do what you said, like work in the cubicle and all the things, like
Right.
maybe get up earlier. Maybe, spend the evening and go, I don't know, have a burrito and walk with your burrito at night for dinner. I don't know what it is, but, just being mindful, because I feel like we get into these like kind of modes and we turn into like
Well,
zombies.
we have no boundaries anymore.
Yeah.
Boundaries are gone because, when I was growing up, and I'm 46 years old,
Wow. You
I
look great, dude.
thank you. And I mean, it wasn't that long ago where I would come home and there was no cell phones, and you would literally just check your messages on your answering machine, and
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe you had a message and then you would get back to them the next day, and that was really the cadence of everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, you even had answering machines, and then we came up with beepers, and then
Yeah.
people could get a hold of you, but there was no immediate response. If somebody beeped you, you'd get to them later, like not a big deal. Now it's instant. I want you on Zoom. I want you on Google Meets. I have you on a text message chat. You're on a Slack chat. I mean, there's so many chats. So there's
Yes.
no boundaries. So literally people are on their email at 11 o'clock at night, still responding to, stuff from earlier in the day, or, they're waking up and they're jumping straight to the phone and they're already responding to questions from yesterday. It's nonstop and is brand new for our society. We've never dealt with this before. We don't know actually how to deal with it. And so now you have all these little technology things like, oh, you can change your screen to red in the evening, which will help out with the blue light issues,
Yeah.
which we didn't really get into today, which is extremely important. Or you can put on do not disturb. I mean, there are these little
Mm-hmm.
things that you can do, but at the end of the day, we're in too much we're having too much communication,
I
really.
mean, I
Yeah.
talked to my wife about that, and I don't know about y'all. You could comment down below how many conversations you have a day. I mean, I'm probably almost at 50 to 100 different conversations
Oh
a
yeah.
day
Yeah.
in between social media and email and my team.
Right.
And then you end the day and your brain, it feels like mashed potatoes
Right.
and you can't,
Fried.
it's like fried. And you're like, why do I feel like this?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, I had fucking 70 like phone conversations slash text messages slash social media.
Dopamine drained.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're drained of dopamine. You're drained of dopamine deficiency. They're now finding correlations with addiction and dopamine deficiency.
Ah.
And so look at the very stereotypical, like maybe 19-year-old gamer, he's literally like on the game at midnight in a big screen, maybe multiple screens, chatting with friends, eating some sort of crappy chips or something like that.
Mm.
And they're just like depleting all of their dopamine, in these games
Wow.
and stuff like that. And now, because their sleep circadian rhythm is so off, because they're up late at night, they're staring at blue screens, their body's not producing melatonin, they're not getting good rest. The next day they're lethargic. They're not waking up with morning wood. Morning wood is an indicator. If you're waking up with morning wood, that's a really good sign, by the way, if you're, a little bit older guys,
Let's go.
because that's a sign that your testosterone is doing well. And
Optimized.
because yeah, testosterone is typically higher in the morning. That's why when you go get a blood test, they typically want you to do testosterone first thing in the morning, maybe 7 a.m. or so, a blood draw.
And women wonder why men are ready in the morning, and women are like, no, I don't want to do the first thing in the
Yeah,
morning. Well,
testosterone's higher, right?
yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure why, but my guess is, if testosterone's higher in the morning, that's going to give you that energy to get out there and go do something,
Yeah.
right? Because, like, think about if we're living in a log cabin and I'm waking up, you know, you have to go out there and get shit done. You might have to chop more wood for the fire for the evening. You might have to go and fix some shed that, or tend to your animals, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be. Like, it was always labor intensive, like work, which required a lot of movement. So testosterone in the morning is like giving you the energy, right? The energy to get moving, to get shit done. The sky is blue. Blue light tells us mind should be alert and ready to go and be productive.
Got it.
When you're staring at blue screens at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, it is literally telling your brain it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon and that you're not producing melatonin, which makes you drowsy. So our entire history of humanity, at nighttime, we stared at fires and candles. Not that long ago, people were walking around with candles to get around the house in the evening before they blew out the candle and went to bed. And then came lights, and then came, all of the different screens that we have, obviously, in our current world today. So we are used to staring at red light. Red light should be the only light that we're seeing in the evening. And
Wow.
that's why it feels so nice. If you turned off all of the lights in your house and you just lit candles around your house, right? And you just like hung out with your wife in front of maybe you lit a fire and you read your book and you guys had some conversation after dinner, you would be so drowsy that you'd be ready to blow out the candles, put out the fire, and go to bed.
Interesting.
Yeah, but the blue light is stimulating because it's sky is blue, wake up, get productive, go do things. And so we're off, we're screwed up, we're all over the place. And the back to the scenario with the young man at 19,
Yeah.
now his testosterone's low, so his drive is low. How many issues do you hear with people and their kids? Oh man, I can't get my 19-year-old to go find a job. He's just in the room all the time, smoking weed and playing games, whatever. So they have no drive.
Yeah.
Their testosterone's low, the fertility rates are down. Like, it's a big, like, mess. And we're learning how to adapt to technology,
Okay.
and we're figuring it out, and we're not doing a very good job. That's kind of where
Dude.
that's where currently we're at.
I love that segment. It's so true. And if you are a parent and you have a child like that, something to look into. If you're watching this and it's something that you do, maybe something to look into as well. And going into the next segment, I'm curious about down regulation before bed, and maybe what are some things that the viewers and listeners can actually start to put into practical action now
Yeah.
so they can get better sleep.
The first thing you should do is buy a $50 pair. You can buy a decent pair. There's a lot of junk on Amazon. There's some good companies out there. I think Raw Optics is a good one. I don't have any
Okay.
relationship with them, but they are
We'll
good.
pop it on the screen.
Yeah, Raw Optics. Get blue light blocking glasses. They're red.
Okay.
And at first, it might feel like an adjustment when you start wearing them in the evening because the screen doesn't pop as much, and you're like, you're used to that stimulation. But blue light blocking glasses, number one, first thing. Unfortunately, everyone in society should be wearing them past sunset.
Okay.
So the sunsets, you put on the blue light blocking glasses. Number one. Number two, and listen, I have a problem with this. I love eating late at night. I just do. I always have. I was in the bodybuilder, let's get big and add on
He's
pounds.
a snacker too. We've hung out.
I could eat.
Personally. Yeah,
I
for
could
sure.
eat. Yeah, I have a huge appetite. Always have. But here's the deal with food. Digestion is a process. It requires energy. It requires blood flow. So when you eat a meal, blood is redirected towards the gut
Mm.
and assists in this process of breaking down food
Mm-hmm.
and delivering those nutrients into the body. So it requires energy. That's why when you eat something, you feel lethargic, right? Just think about
Yeah.
turkey dinner at Thanksgiving. You're like super tired. You just ate enough calories to hike Kilimanjaro,
Mm-hmm.
and you're literally sitting on the couch watching football. So you're lethargic. And so the nervous system is also switching to the rest and digest mode, which is the
Mm.
parasympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you eat a big meal in the evening, what's happening is your body's having to allocate all that energy to digesting that food, and it's automatically going to mess with your deep sleep and your REM sleep cycles.
Mm.
So now you're actually not getting the full recharge.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if your phone is like half plugged in or something like that,
Yeah.
while you're sleeping. And so red light glasses, number one, buy them cheap, wear them when the sun sets, put them on.
Got.
Just wear them around the house, especially with like kitchen lights are really bright.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is do your very, very best to not eat 3 hours before bedtime so that when you do go to sleep, now your body can utilize the energy to fix all of the cellular processes and
Yeah.
all of the things because it's in a fasted state.
Yeah.
You're obviously fasting for 8 hours while you're sleeping. Hopefully, you're getting 8 hours. So you're fasting, and when you're
Mm.
fasting, your body is cleaning up a lot of things in the body.
Got it.
And the other thing is, yeah, I would say the light is the main important thing. The food is the other main important thing. And then, of course, like stimulants, like you don't want to be having coffee in the evening. You don't want anything that's stimulating the evening. And
Mm.
also, like if you do like to watch TV, which I get it, it's a big part of our culture here, especially with all the new shows and series coming out.
Yeah.
They can be really addictive. And some people really like to disassociate. There are healthy ways to disassociate. Sometimes I like to dissociate, and I'm like, I don't want to make any decisions. I don't want to check any emails. I don't want to answer anybody in text. I just want to dive into this film that I'm watching right now and just like live in this fantasy for the next hour and a half or so.
Mm.
And that's okay. But be careful what you feed yourself in the evening because as you start to get sleepy in the evening, let's just say you're laying in bed and you're watching TV and you're starting to kind of doze off, right? You have the clicker in your hand, you're dozing off.
Yep.
Well, you're in and out of consciousness,
Ah.
right? So you're aware of what's going on in the room. You're aware of what's happening on the TV. Your eyes are closed, and sometimes you'll slip into a dream a little bit and you're like off somewhere else. And then you're like, oh shit, like I'm back watching TV. So what they call that is the theta brainwave state. It's theta brainwave state.
Okay.
And it's the brainwave state right before you go into deep sleep.
Mm.
So it goes high beta brain waves, low beta brain waves, alpha waves, theta brain waves, which is the meditative state,
Mm.
deep wave cycle. That's sleep.
Got it.
When you're in theta, which
Mm.
is that in between, right? Half conscious, half asleep. That's when your mind is most suggestible. It's the reason
Mm.
why hypnosis is all based on the practice of getting somebody into a theta brainwave state using techniques, using words, using some sort of cadence of some kind to get you in theta brainwave so that they can offer you suggestion. And by offering you suggestion, it helps to rewrite
Mm.
programs and patterns and habits. And that's the whole point of a therapeutic hypnosis session, right?
Yeah.
And there's many forms of that, right? So think about it. If you're in theta brainwave state and your mind is most suggestible and you're watching something like the news or something very right?
Mm.
Fear related, horror movies, killing, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're literally downloading that into your nervous system while you're sleeping, downloading that.
Mm.
And so that can then start to, create like nervous system dysregulation, all that kind of stuff. Maybe find yourself more impulsive, more reactive, less grounded, all
Mm-hmm.
those types of things. So we have to be careful as a human race, like what we feed ourselves, like food, of course, the water, but also energetically, the music that we listen to, the relationships that we participate in. How many times have you had friends over the years that are like full of drama? And every time you connect with them, they're just dumping, their stuff on you, right? And then, right, you're just like getting dumped all the time. on this, or maybe they just are stirring up messes in their life, and
Yes.
that's the crew you're hanging out with. So
Yes.
you're talking about those things, you're ingesting those things, you're in that vibration and frequency. So when you
Yes.
start to really make a big change to your health, or people always talk about their journey and their life, it's not just about eating perfect and doing cold plunge and red light therapy. The most powerful thing really is saying no.
Mm.
Really learning how to say no. Like, I'm not going to go to that event because it's going to be a lot of people, it's going to be a lot of noise, and it's going to be a lot of drinking. And I'm trying to like not be drinking right now, and trying to maybe reverse that habit, because I know it's not
Mm-hmm.
serving me. It's affecting my relationship, it's affecting my life, it's affecting my work, it's affecting my energy. So I need to not put myself in these places where it's just, it's going to be there.
Yeah.
You have to remove certain foods from the house that, like, you get that urge to snack or something like that. My thing is, I love ice cream sandwiches. Like from being a kid,
Oh,
remember the old ice cream
talking
sandwiches?
my language,
I
dude.
love ice cream sandwiches. So like,
Yes.
if you have it in the house, like, I'm gonna eat it. So like, I need to make sure it's not in my house. Um, so it's really learning how to say no and
Mm.
removing yourself from scenarios, and then
Mm-hmm.
finding yourself in other relationships that are more harmonious to what you're trying to accomplish.
I love
If
that.
you're an entrepreneur, you're around other entrepreneurs, you come up with ideas,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where you guys are feeding each other and you're helping each other grow. If you're
Mm-hmm.
training athletically, right? You want to train with people that are better than you, that have already been
Mm-hmm.
there, that can help you up level and grow. You can do the same thing in business.
Yes.
So it's really about repositioning your life and what you're absorbing energetically.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, physically, the nutrition and stuff like that. So it's a lot, like, lifestyle change is a lot of work, and it's not an easy sell.
Mm-mm.
And most people don't want to hear it because it sounds like it's too much to do.
Yep.
But you'd be surprised on, just how powerful saying no is, and spending more time by yourself if that's what you need, to those scenarios that aren't serving you. You'd be surprised about, what type of movies or music that you start to listen to. I grew up in the 90s in Queens, New York. It was all gangster rap music,
Yeah.
or hardcore heavy metal kind of
NWA
stuff.
and
It was heavy. And like, every now and then I will listen to it, and some of the old stuff is good, and it's a little bit lighter too. Like, some of the older rap is a little bit
mm-hmm.
lighter, and then it
Mm-hmm.
went on this twist of like really like kind of gangster rap. And it's like, I don't even resonate with it anymore. Like,
Mm-mm.
I'm like, the words and what they're talking about. It's like, I can't even like vibe to that anymore.
No.
So like, you find yourself just like ingesting other things, new
Yes.
music or new experiences. And
Yes.
so I now live a life very much focused on like wellness type of activities. A good time, like, to me, I want to go to Sedona, right? And
Love
like, I'm
to.
gonna go do a day trip just because I need it. And you know, my goal to go to Sedona is, there's a track up there. I'm gonna go for a run in the track. I'm gonna go on a hike. There's some pull-up bars and monkey bars, and stuff that I can get in like an outdoor kind of
Mm-hmm.
bar stars type of workout, which is like one of my favorite things to do. I'm gonna go up there and get a healthy meal. I'm gonna be out in nature, getting some fresh air. I'm gonna
Yes.
get my body moving, and like, that to me is a good time.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, if I had a couple friends and like, hey, do you want to come up with me? Like, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go up there, we're going to work out, we're going to get a good meal, we're going to catch up, we're going to connect, and we're going to feel good. We're not
Yes.
going on benders, to 2 a.m, getting wasted and
No, that's
talk,
huge.
talking about, who said what, or what stupid things somebody did the night
What girl they
before.
hooked up with or whatever else or no, I love that. And I hope you all, can take something from Michael right now and personally and selfishly for you who are viewing and listening. I mean, all the guests that I've had on are very positive, influential individuals. Anzella was on and Health Nut was on, Troy Casey and yourself. And it's nice, and I hope you all see it's like association, and me being associated with you and you being in the room and hearing what you're saying is affecting me in a positive way to just
Right.
reinforce what is good for me as a being, as also as you as beings out there as well. And it's so true, it's so true. And hopefully help just one person out there to like, maybe I don't need to drink anymore. I mean, maybe I gotta go buy those glasses, maybe I'll go sup at Optimize and use the code Liftoff. Like, let's change the patterns and behaviors and be more conscious of that. And that's why when you just talked about the TV thing and like falling asleep, like the wife's into the whole old school show called Gilmore Girls. I've never watched Gilmore Girls, but it's mom, daughter, and she has Jordan, and so she's all about it. And then she'll watch it, and it's a lot of gossip and
Yeah.
this and that. But it's her thing. It's like she wants to be in her fantasy world. I'm like, okay, fine. But I love this. This is whether it's like I'm on the YouTube and I'm like watching something on lunch that's just positive, or this, and it's
Right.
just it's like I love it.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I was watching the Six Nations rugby tournament in Europe on Netflix, and I'm like super dialed into that. I'm like, man, these guys are such badasses. What an amazing sport.
Yeah,
And so, like, I have my own ways of disassociating in fantasy.
of
I'm like
course.
imagining myself playing rugby, for Italy's team, and all that kind of stuff.
Which
So
is
like we all
cool.
have our own version of that, and I think it's there's healthy amounts of it, and then there's obviously we know the unhealthy amounts of it.
Yeah.
People not leaving their room, scrolling all day. Their
Mm-hmm.
testosterone's at zero. They have no drive. They have no motivation.
Mm.
And these young guys, they have a lot of sexual health issues.
Yeah.
And then of course the porn industry. Oh my God,
Yeah.
huge, right?
Huge. And then the
And
OnlyFans are coming up now. And, it's like I saw something on social media, and this one girl, it was $50 million. I was like, what the heck? And it happened to be in line and associated with when my wife caught my phone and she saw that I searched for this chick. And she's like, oh my God, are you on OnlyFans now? And who's this
ooh,
chick? And blah, blah, blah. Sophia Rain. And she made like $50 million off of the OnlyFans. And I didn't get the account. I just went and saw, okay, cool, whatever, moved on. She's cute, but I'm married. And then she called me out on it. But it's like, dude, and then now,
you get
you
in trouble. That's
again,
funny.
dude, I get it. And my wife's had some past traumas that comes back up for her, and she knows she can trust me. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And now to take it to the next level, to make it even worse, is now there's AI only fans where you can basically set up and make this fake AI girl and
Wow,
put them on OnlyFans, and then you're making revenue off of these fake models.
that's crazy.
It's crazy. So it's like, let's go deeper down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, we're screwed, man. Like, damn, we're in trouble,
What are we
folks.
gonna do, guys?
We're in, oh, dude. Where's the spiritual? It's like a spiritual problem, like overarching. Like, yeah, you can point out mental health,
Yeah,
physical
yeah,
health,
yeah.
emotional health, but like at the end of the day, it's like a spiritual problem. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're in a really tough spot. And I think getting back to basics is probably the most important message. So if you're really looking to get your life on track, and you just like want somewhere to start, just get back to basics and don't overcomplicate it. You don't need to know about what mitochondria do. You don't need to know about what hormesis is. You don't really need to know about, all of these different terms that are kind of thrown around, like inflammation. Most people know what the word is, but they don't even really know what inflammation is. Like, what exactly is it? And if you're interested in those things, then yeah, I would definitely encourage you to learn about it because if you're going to buy a car and you know nothing about your car and you know nothing about cars, and you go to a car dealership and you're just like, I like this car, the car salesman is going to eat you alive. He's going to eat you alive because you didn't do your homework. Like, you don't know what your car is worth. You don't know what your trade-in's worth. You don't know what the value of the car is. You haven't really shopped around to see, like, what the actual fair price of that car is, in your zip code or even across the country. And so you haven't done any homework. And so now you're just going to get eaten up and you're going to be stuck in this like loan that's like really bad, that like doesn't serve you, and you're upside down, you're just going to get wrecked. Well, think about that when you go to the doctor. If you don't do your homework, you don't know how your body works, you don't know any of these terms, you don't know anything about anything, and you're like, hey, doc, I'm not feeling well. What do you have to fix me? You're in a very, like, in a negotiation type of relationship, you're not in a place of power. You know what I mean? You are not in the place of power. That doctor is going to be way more powerful than you. He has the degree, he has the white coat, and he's going to dictate what you're going to take. And he's going to tell you, or she's going to tell you, you're going to have to take this medication for this long. And if you're not feeling well, you're going to have to take this depression mode. And okay, so you're feeling anxious too, we're going to give you this. Okay, got it. Oh, you have a little ADHD. All right, good. You could take this. So now you're on 3 or 4 medications. Oh, you got high blood pressure because you've been stressed. We're going to take this. Now you're on 5 medications, all because you can't get your habits under control, all because you can't like have some discipline to not eat the late night food or to wake up with some purpose. So now you're in the system, and now the system will manage you. They're going to tell you when to come back for the next appointment. They're going to tell you when to re-up that medication. They're going to make adjustments to the medication. you're in the system and you're screwed. They got you. And now insurance and all of the companies are all profiting from you. And then eventually you're just going to get worse in some sort of way. You're going to get some sort of chronic illness of some kind. And now you're going to have more treatments or procedures. And now it's just like, where did 20 years of my life go? And you're just screwed. So you actually kind of have to do your homework, and you have to learn about how this beautiful human being, a beautiful body works, these systems, this most amazing machine. The most amazing machine on the planet is this human body, actually. We can't even come close to figuring out how this thing works. And so we're just scratching the surface of knowing how this thing works and what to do to optimize it. We're learning a lot, but there's still a lot we don't know. And so if you're going to that doctor's office and you've done no homework and you've done no research and no podcasts and you're not involved in discussion, they're just going to put you in the system, and then you become a prisoner of the system. So you actually have to do your homework. You have to learn before you go in so that you can negotiate your own health. You can have a say. You can ask good questions like, hey, doc, you want me to take this medication, but maybe help me to understand what some of the side effects might be. What can I expect if I decide to take this? And what's your plan for me to get off of this medication? We just trying this out for like 60 days, 90 days, like, you know what I mean? And guess what? You can fire them just like anybody else. If you have a lawyer that's not giving you good advice and you're frustrated, or if you have a real estate agent that's not giving you good advice, or maybe not answering your calls or whatever it might be, fire them, get a new one, find someone new. So we are in this weird relationship with doctors, and we're screwed. And so the only way out of it is to really learn about your body. And there's no excuses anymore. When I was young, I had to go to a freaking library to go look in the Dewey Decimal System to look up a book, and get some dust off that book to learn about anything. You have the power to pull it up on your phone. You have the power to pull up ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, I'm dealing with XYZ this. My blood work came up with this, this, and that. Please give me some recommendations of what this might be. Please help me to find a natural solution. I'm thinking about doing red light therapy. What are your thoughts on how red light therapy might have a positive impact on that? And it's going to spit out a detailed information. I need to get on a keto diet. My doctor recommended a keto diet. Can you create me a meal plan Monday through Friday where I can, go shopping, create me a shopping list of foods, create me a meal plan for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that would all help me to stay in ketosis to help get my diabetes under control. Done. I mean, we don't have no excuses. Where your energy goes, and where your attention goes, energy flows. So if your attention is on other places and not your health, well, guess what? Your health's going to fall apart. And what's the most important thing is really our health, our energy, right? Feeling good. So we have no excuses. It's just a matter of like where our attention goes and where we want to focus on.
Dude, that was awesome. You were in the flow state. So I was like, just man, that was an amazing segment. I hope you took that to heart out there, because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, it's there's nothing to gain. Like, you're not saying that for anyone. Like, you're not like selling them something. There's no like subscription you're selling. You're
No
just
supplement.
you're
Yeah.
just being real, and you're just like, this is what it is, take it or leave it. And I hope that you take it to heart and try it for yourself. And it's so true. ChatGPT, we actually had a guest on who was on Real Estate First Technology, and he asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT it scours the web and it gives you the information. It serves it on a silver platter, and he was like saying something. He had like a abdominal pain or something, and he put it in there, and he took the pictures and put that in ChatGPT, and it said, "Oh, you getting bruising because of this, that, and the other thing, because he's
Yep.
overweight," and he was doing crunches, and it was just like
Right.
something with the fat and the ribs and whatever. So you could do that too.
Yeah, and the best way to use it, not to like just talk too much about ChatGPT, but it's a good resource for sure.
Hmm.
Talk to it. So instead of typing it all in and not really knowing what you're going to say, I literally will hit the little microphone button and just have a conversation with it and be like, even if I have pauses, I'm not quite sure where to go, but I'll literally leave it like a 3 to 5 minute message.
Mm.
And then it'll translate that into text, and then you submit it, and then it'll give you your output. And so
Mm.
the more information you give it about how you're feeling or what you're dealing with, or maybe there's a new supplement that you're thinking about taking. So we have no excuses. We can definitely get educated on different things. But without overcomplicating this, back to the basics: walking and movement.
Hmm.
8,000 to 10,000 steps a day.
Mm-hmm.
Get super disciplined on that. You will feel better mentally, physically, emotionally,
Mm.
because you get to process things while you walk. So there's also a mental health benefit to that. And your blood is pumping endorphins. There's like a lot going on in your body just from a simple walk that you don't really pay attention to. Waking up with some purpose, having some sort of agenda the first 30 minutes to an hour of waking up. Like, what is your agenda? Just have a few things that you commit to on a daily basis and change it, experiment. Food. The end of the day is we need more protein and we need less carbs,
Mm.
unless you are a triathlete, unless you are an athlete, unless you're like moving a lot of energy on a very daily basis, like you just don't need that much carbs. And so prioritize protein, grass-fed red meat, good organic chicken, eggs, superfood. Eggs is like the cheapest protein you can buy. So if you're really confused about all these different protein powders that are out there, most of them are processed junk.
Mm.
It's all processed foods. A lot of it's junk. So if you really want a good source of protein that's cheap, that's going to give you the most bang for your buck, eat eggs. And don't like cheap out on the eggs. Don't go to Costco and buy like the cheap white eggs,
Mm.
like don't. Spend a little bit of more money and get the free range organic eggs, and instead of spending $6 on eggs, spend $8.50 or whatever it is these days on eggs. And so don't cheap out on eggs. And you can do a lot with eggs. You can cook them, you can hard boil them, you can do so many different things, but it's a superfood. Actually, there's a book called In Search for the Perfect Protein,
Mm.
which is a fantastic book, by the way. It's one of my favorite books, actually. And it was written by Dr. Minkoff, which is probably the top functional doctor in the country.
Wow.
And so the number one protein for human beings is breast milk.
Oh, wow.
But we're not out here drinking breast milk, right? But that's food for humans. Like
Yeah.
literally, the woman's body produces it, to
Yeah.
feed the baby and grow the baby. It has
Mm-hmm.
all the, amino acid profile, everything that it needs. The second best food for human beings is eggs.
Wow.
It's a superfood. It's nature's vitamin. And all this cholesterol mumbo jumbo, like, oh my God, we've been so misguided on cholesterol and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing about statins, it's a whole nother subject that we don't have time for. And then you get into the third, which is grass-fed red meat. And so, whether it be from a cow or whether it be from, a bison or whether it be from, a game, a lot of times people go hunting for elk. Elk is apparently one of the best meats you can have, but I understand like you just don't have abundance to that. But there's tons of good butchers. Try to support the local folks, the butchers, all that.
Mm.
Back in the day, not that long ago, when I would go shopping as a kid, my mom would give me a grocery list and I had to go to the store. One, I used to walk to the store. Two, I would go to the grocery store for condiments, right? Maybe I needed ketchup or mustard or something of that nature. I would go to the bakery to get fresh bread. I would then go to the butcher shop to get the meat that we were going to use for the next couple of days, whether it be chicken cutlets or burgers or whatever, steak. And then I would go to the vegetable stand. Usually it was run by some like Korean family or something like that. That was like, straight off the boat. And they'd be serving like fresh produce,
Mm.
not sprayed with all the chemicals, right? All the folic acid and all the crap that they put on stuff today. And so we had to like go around to different places just to gather the food that we would then cook for dinner over the next couple of days. We've changed that. We go to one shopping place for everything. That's fine. They have really cool places now. You got Sprouts, you got Whole Foods, you got Trader Joe's. They're doing really good things. And so if they've, obviously limited you having to drive to 4 different places, they have it all in one place. So get in the habit of like just buying enough food, right, for the few days that you're eating instead of trying to buy enough food for the entire month, because most of that stuff's going to have low shelf life. It's going to be processed. It's going to be in a box or a can. Now you can buy meat in bulk and you have to freeze it. And there's lots of good places where you can do that. But we just have to get back to basics. So it's like more protein, more walking, less carbohydrates, getting in the sunlight, the the grounding, which is
Yep.
PEMF, and really getting back to basics. Like that's the key. If you do that, you will feel better and you don't have to worry about all of the complicated scientific terms. But I recommend that you learn the terms because you'll feel a lot better in negotiation when you're negotiating about your health. Every time you go to the doctor, you're negotiating about your health. And so you're actually in a negotiation of what you're going to take and what you're going to do. And just like you would prepare for any negotiation that you would go into for a business agreement, you actually have to prepare for those doctor's appointments too.
Yeah. Wow.
And I love talking with doctors. I love it because I know a lot, and they can't fool me.
I love that. Let's go. Hey, do your research, use ChatGPT, go deeper in the process. And I was curious because we already know certified Wim Hof method instructor. And I like, so yes, it's a podcast, but I like to call this more of an experience. And so we just took everyone on a journey. And so now they know what to be thinking and next steps. And hopefully just this episode alone is just packed with things and practical things they could do. And now they're going to go to Optimyze and check it out. Would you mind having some fun and maybe we can end our episode with a little bit of breath work?
Sure.
How do you all feel about that?
Sure.
Do you want to just put on a video and we could do it with them, or did you want to guide us through the process? And then that way y'all can see how this process works. Could be your golden nugget for staying with us for an hour and 55 minutes now.
All right, let's take. We'll just go through one quick round of.
Okay.
One quick round of Wim Hof method breathing.
All right, I'll follow.
All right, close your eyes. Get comfortable. If you're driving, don't do this.
Yeah.
If you're near water, don't do this. If you're in a comfortable place in your couch, on your floor, in your chair at work or something like that, you can do this. Don't do it while you're driving. Close your eyes, and what we're going to do is we'll do 30 deep breaths, and followed by an inhale, and then an exhale hold, and then followed by an inhale hold. So we'll start in 3, 2, 1. Fully in, let it go. Fully in, let it go. Breathing in, letting go. Fully in, letting go. Deeply in, letting go. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Fully in, letting go. Deeply in, letting go. Fully in, letting go. Deeply in, letting go. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out. In, out. 5 more. In, out. Fully in, letting go. Deeply in, letting go. Last one. Fully in, let it go. Hold, hold. No air in, no air out. You're holding on the exhale for as long as you can. What's happening in your body right now is that the CO2 is slowly starting to rise. You just took in all this oxygen. They call it breathing in excess of metabolic demand. So you're taking in more oxygen, really what you need, because you're just sitting on the couch relaxing. Now CO2 is your alarm system to take a breath. But you've blown out so much CO2 that you're starting from a deficit. So now the CO2 is slowly starting to rise. And eventually you'll get to a point where it's telling you, take a breath, take a breath, take a breath. When you get to that point, I want you to take a giant breath in and hold it. But for now, just hold. And I'll say a little attunement for everybody. I know who you are in truth. I know what you are in truth. I know how you serve in truth. You are free. You are free. You are free. Behold, you make all things new. I am word through my body. Word, I am word. I am word through my vibration. Word, I am word. I am word through the knowing of myself as word. I am word through this intention. Word, I am word. Good. Now hold that for about 10 seconds. Fresh new oxygen in. All of those cells are opening up, allowing that oxygen in, helping to create that ATP energy, life force energy. So with every breath you take, you're breathing in life force energy. You're literally breathing in God. And exhale.
Wow. That
There you
was
go.
amazing, man. Thank you so much for that. I hope you all enjoyed that segment because I do that every single morning and I just automatically felt like this rush of energy. Wow. Thank you, man. This has been phenomenal. Go check out Optimyze, promo code down below, Liftoff. Follow the man, and may you all have more liftoff in your life. And namaste.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Let's go.